We're going to start this meeting. It's 7 o'clock. USD 290 School Board is going to be called to order. Am I on? Yes. Can you hear me now? Harold, good to have you. We have 7 board members present. Let's begin the meeting with our Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members, you've received the agenda. Is there a motion to approve it?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Brian, second by David to approve the agenda. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Passes 7-0. We have consent agenda. We have divided it, but the bulk of it you see in front of you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
Seconded. Linda and Brian. Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions regarding that? Discussion?
You are splitting it so that I can.
Yes, we are. All right, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Motion passes 7-0. We have separated out the COF contract, consent agenda 2. I would appreciate a motion regarding that.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Susan and Tim. Any questions?
I will be abstaining from.
Okay. David, as an employee of that organization, will abstain from this vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Passes 6-0. And the clerk did not receive any. I had hoped we'd get some comments tonight, but not having any. I think we're going to move on to our first presentation from architects. This is an exciting time for our district. We're hoping to make some improvements to our district over the near future and improve educational facilities for our kids. And we have 3 companies that are coming tonight to present to us. A reminder to you folks that we are taping this. This will be on our website, available for all our patrons. And so we'd prefer that you wouldn't swear or say bad things about me. But you will be.
Where at him, that's okay.
Yeah, you can do
What
that.
about your employer, Bill?
Huh?
What about your employer?
You can do that. That's fine. Our first presenter tonight is Bartlett and West, and I don't know who's going to stand up for the group. Are you going to lead? Sure. And if you would introduce everybody, that would be great.
Sure. We can go ahead and get started?
Certainly. Let's
All
get
right.
it on.
Well, why don't, since you'd like everybody to personally introduce themselves, I'll start with that, and then we can go ahead and get on to our presentation.
Certainly.
Does that sound okay? My name is Darren Ammon. I am a Senior Project Manager and Vice President, Landscape Architect and Planner with Bartlett and West out of our Lawrence office. And why don't we go ahead and just let everybody introduce themselves, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, and if you'd step to the mic, that would be great.
I'm Casey Colburn. I'm a lead engineer with Bartlett and West.
Kwame Smith, architect with SFS Architecture.
Okay.
Marcia Hoffman, principal with SFS Architecture.
Okay.
And my name's Jim Renner. I'm the design build manager for Bartlett and West and a construction manager by trade.
Okay. And we'd like you guys to keep your presentation to maybe 20 minutes or so that we'll have time for some questions. If
That'd
that's
be fantastic. We'll go ahead and get started.
okay.
Well, thanks so much, just to begin with, for giving us the opportunity to be here. We do have a PowerPoint presentation. We have a board in front of you, too, and anyone in the audience that would like to take a look at that. Again, we're really excited to be here. This is an exciting time for Ottawa. We're excited as a team, and we hope you are as well. Thanks for giving us the chance to introduce ourselves. This team that you see here today, you know, your success and our success depends on teamwork. This is a partnership and working together. We're very excited about the things that are to come. Bartlett and West, an engineering firm, and SFS, an architecture firm, has partnered together. We've worked here, we're working here, and we're going to continue to work here. We love it here in Ottawa. Again, you've met all the faces that are on there. We do have a couple other members of our team that we have partnered with, a group called Brain Spaces. They are educational programming experts. They bring specific technical expertise when it comes to additional educational programming. And also the Sextant Group, which has technology and theatrical expertise that we feel will be very valuable to you going forward. You know, these exercises, and when you have community visioning and you think about starting a process like this with a bond or anything, it's really about listening. Because we got to listen to you, teachers, students, the community, and understand the needs of where we want to do, what do we want to do, how do we want to do that, and move forward. Dr. Stroh had a great quote there talking about that. You know, in the next 20 minutes that you're giving us to present in front of you, we really want to try to present ourselves and show why we are the team of choice to work with USD 290, and that we are fully committed to the county and the city of Ottawa and the school district, because we want to be here. We will help deliver a successful bond referendum, working hand in hand with you, and throughout that process creating unique and innovative design educational spaces as a team, because we're cross-disciplined. We're engineers, architects, planners, landscape architects, bringing it all together in one team to work with you. Tell you a little bit about some of our team and experience and some of the things, but one of the things we really want to talk about is pointing out, if there's anything you remember about myself or our team in front of you tonight, is really these three key elements. Number one, we are local. And we work here, we live here, literally. This is a slide of Casey Colburn's property. Casey lives in Ottawa. He grew up in Ottawa. He loves Ottawa. He's passionate about Ottawa. We're all passionate about Ottawa. This isn't just a project to us. This is something we want to put our hearts and souls into and work with all of you for the community, the betterment of the students, and all that going forward.
Was that from an NSA tape, that picture? All right, thank you. Just curious.
I don't even know how to respond to that one.
No,
With Casey, it wouldn't surprise me.
Probably shouldn't.
But we're not just, we don't just work here and live here, we're deeply involved here. Some of you may or may not know me, but I'm a member of the Franklin County Development Council Board of Directors. I have been for many years. Very excited about the things to come in the community and where the direction of this community is going with things in the area, with the intermodal being close and all of those different things. All these organizations we're involved in, whether it's the Chamber, Habitat for Humanity, COF, Rotary, we're involved here. We love being involved here, and it really helps us have an intimate knowledge of the community. That second key thing to remember about us is we're reliable. We work with partners, friends, and clients that you know. This is a quote shown on the screen from Dr. Brian Enbody, who's the president of Neosho County Community College. I would bank my reputation on things that Dr. Enbody would say about us. We work hand in hand with Neosho County Community College, Ottawa University, and numerous other organizations in this community because we care about it. We want to do good work, and we want to do that same thing with you if we have this opportunity. The third thing is we do bring the expertise to help you get this bond and these different projects moving forward and get the community excited about where they want to go. It's fantastic. We have, and it's shown on this board a little bit and on the screen as well, this team brings innovative design engineering and unique opportunities when it comes to educational and academic spaces. We do it all over the area. We've done dozens of projects and different things, and it's one thing just to say it, but this team has worked with numerous projects in various capacities, whether it's schools, parks, community colleges with community college master plans, or with private developments. We've done all of those different types of things and had over 35 plus different successful bond passages represented on this graphic here and other just different projects around the country. So we're very excited to work with you, and you're going to hear more about that and some of our process from other members of our team.
I want to talk a little bit about our project understanding, but first of all, I'd like to clarify a little bit more what my role is as principal in charge of SFS. And my bottom line responsibility is to make sure that we are meeting your needs and expectations as we go through this entire process. I will not be involved just in the beginning. I'm going to be involved from the time we start this project till the construction is complete. That's one of our philosophies, is that principals never disattach to a project as it's going on. Also, some of the things that I will be leading is some of the programming efforts in the community and administration, teacher, student engagements as we go through the process. When we get to talking about our process, that'll be a little bit more clear of exactly what I'm talking about. We had a great tour of the facilities with Dr. Stroh and Dr. Cobbs that gave us a very good understanding of some of the things that are on the table to be considered as a part of this project. The number one thing from your community engagement when you had the surveys done was security. Security in all of the facilities is one of the top requirements. So as you look at Lincoln and Garfield, there are some of your newer schools. There might be less things that need to be done on them, but that security needs to be addressed. Also, some of the accessibility upgrades, as well as life safety issues. Then Eugene Field is a little different because it might be a little smaller than what's required. It might require an addition in order to get that up to the space requirements for the future. That's what our job is to determine that. But we also understand that that may be something that has other functions within the district that could function out of that building and be a very good fit for it. So that's something we would be taking a look at. The middle school priority is security again and a new roof. I know that you like no flat roofs, so looking at somehow to get a slope to the roofs on that when it's done, and some improvements to mechanical systems and parking drainage. The high school is kind of a unique thing because there's quite a list of improvements beyond just the security improvements for that. It's really kind of bringing it up to current day standards to meet all of the expectations that are out there for high schools. So if a new administration were to be added to the building, that would help improve security. It would free up space maybe for a counseling center. There is the need for a performing arts center. Two of those things in our discussions that I think make it a great opportunity when you've got a facility that's the age that this is. By doing an addition to it, that gives you an opportunity to refresh the look. And I think it will refresh excitement from the community as those things are added. There's still a lot of things in classrooms. Some of the progressive classroom designs maybe from when it was built don't function as well today, that need to be reconfigured, the addition of new science labs. Those lists of things go on, which we will explore with you. One thing that I think is really exciting is the Career Ed Tech Center that has such a potential not only for the school but also for the community with what that can offer as a part of this project. Whenever we're looking at projects like this, educational spaces, there's some things that we feel are key to the design. Whatever the programming is, we want to make sure that we're providing stimulating environments for learning. It works for the students, it works for the teachers. We have that security. Parents feel good about sending their children to the schools. Long-term flexibility. Things are going to change. We've seen it a lot recently with the incorporation of technology in schools. It's for sure going to change when we go down the road as well. So we want to make sure that we make it flexible. Technology will be incorporated and account for that down the road as well. This is a project that you're going to have for a long time, all of these improvements, and that's where durability and maintainability are key. It's got to be affordable to construct, but you've got to be able to maintain it and have it look good for the long term. And then image. Image is important. An exciting environment for students makes them want to come to school. It helps you attract teachers, and it just is a positive overall, good for the community. When we talk about our referendum support, it's really a lot about our process and how we will work with you. And the things we feel are really key is listening, envisioning, and sharing that information. This is something that has been the basis for some of the success that Darren was referencing earlier on our past bond issues. But this is a plan that also allows it to evolve based on your input and this community. When we talk about listen and learn, it really is we want to listen intently to what you have to say and what your needs are. And we want to do that for all of the stakeholders that are a part of the project. And there are different things that help us facilitate the conversation to make sure that we're all on the same page with what we're learning about the process. Community outreach, pardon me. The surveys that you've done, you've had 3 of those accomplished, and they seem to be fairly consistent in the feedback you got, but that's something we'll want to talk to you about and see if that's something that we want to refresh and send out again. That could just change into more of a voter opinion survey. I think what's key for Ottawa is probably the grassroots approach, understanding that we need to be out in the community, we need to be listening, and we need to be able to share our findings with the community as the study progresses. Citizen Steering Committee would be a possible good idea for you to get them involved so that they could start to hear and understand. What we want to do is do quality design that helps you understand the reasoning for the design decisions that are made. And when you have steering committee of citizens, they're the ones that are going out to pass along the good news about this planning and the process and what's going on. Benchmarking other facilities is important. I know that one thing Dr. Stroh said was this would be the kind of premier facility in your league. I don't think I got that quote exactly right, but that intent is there. And I think the one thing that's really good is for us to go tour facilities with you, because that way we can understand when we're talking about something exactly what is meant by that. So we could tour those facilities that are within your league and those within the region that are something that you could aspire to or have components that would be nice to integrate into your facility, and we will coordinate that with you. Facility assessment, there's kind of 2 components to this. One is what Brain Spaces brings to the table, which is really understanding the educational effectiveness and optimizing what you have right now. All Amy does is work on schools and do research to look at what the 21st century schools are, where are schools going. She is an expert on that, and she can help with evaluation of where we are and where we should go. Those utilization rates, are there anything that we can do to help the capacity that you're at now? Anything to make that better? Are we really adding on the right number of classrooms or different components? Again, future flexibility when we're planning, thinking about how often a space will be used and how we can maximize the hours in the day that it is utilized. Security will be there as we're talking about the facility assessments to make sure that we understand where you stand today and where we need to go. Then there's kind of the overall ADA accessibility, mechanical electrical systems, life safety, and building codes. A lot of the things that if we're going to do structural improvements, a structural engineer to take a look at, that's what we will also be doing at the same time. That's important for a lot of reasons because it will help when we get to the planning, but also we need to know what those costs are right up front. So that will impact the overall project as well. Needs assessment will be when we actually sit down and interview the key stakeholders to talk to them about what are these needs. And we'll end up at the end of that with a quantitative document that says we need this many classrooms at this size and so on and so forth for each of the facilities. It will get into a lot of the details, but that will allow us to hear all of the comments and needs that are out there. A visioning workshop is a nice thing with stakeholders to confirm that the needs that we heard are real needs, prioritize wants versus needs, review that facility assessment so everybody understands what those true conditions are. And all of this is building us a base to build consensus on what the real needs are.
Again, my name is Kwame Smith. I will be the lead project architect on your project. My primary role will be seeing that your objectives and community goals are being carried through the process while managing the efforts of our various team members. And as we continue to talk about our process, we will use all the information gathered that Marcia discussed earlier to start what we like to consider the exciting, dynamic, and fun part of the process. Creating a very tangible and exciting vision is quintessential to this, from my point of view. This is where we start to look at the various plan options and alternatives. This is also at the point where we start to work closely with Jim to balance and measure each option against cost. As part of developing the options, we start to visually give three-dimensional form and shape to the goals of the vision. We work hard to formulate those key messages that will be presented to the community in a very understandable and effective manner. One of the early pieces of the visioning and planning process is site analysis. If required, and if multiple sites are being considered, we'll take a very objective look at each site using a very specific set of defined criteria. We'll use measurable parameters such as site access, access to utilities, size requirements, community impact, and location, looking at whether redistricting is required or needs to be considered at all. We'll also add to the matrix that you see before you site development cost. During the planning session and workshops that Marcia talked about earlier, we'll also look at multiple plan options. This is where we start to answer all the what ifs and what abouts. We will develop plans that are used to bring shape, form, and scale to the program. Again, always balancing each plan option against cost and working side by side with Jim to develop that order of magnitude cost for the project. We do all this with the overarching goal of giving the key stakeholders like yourself and giving you all the information that you need to make an informed decision and build consensus in the community. So when we talk about visioning and planning, what we're really trying to create is a visual, tangible vision that can be shared with the community. We'll bring a variety of visioning tools, such as static imagery, dynamic 3D modeling, animations, first-person walkthroughs, which will aid with this process. And our real goal is to make this as engaging as much as possible for the community. These are all just some examples of tools we will work with to engage and excite the community with the hope of really galvanizing support for the project and for the goals among the key stakeholders.
Even though Share and Connect comes at the end of this process, it's really not the end. It's really kind of at the beginning, because we really feel we need to have that communication strategy established right up front so that we know when we're going to engage, when we're going to provide information, and make sure that everybody knows when they can expect more information about how the process is going. So we will do that right up front. You have Engage Ottawa, whether that's an outlet for you to share information or not, or whether we have another web-based kind of email web-based system that could be maintained throughout the project that people would know where to go to gain information. That could be also supplemented by having mailers, if that seemed to be a good way to communicate, to answer all of those questions. Some of these public meetings too, and the information we'll get back from events, is going to be part of the what ifs Kwame was talking about. Why didn't you look at this? And what we want you to be able to say is we did, and this is why. So that gives you that format that's one-on-one to help with that. We will help you with event planning and scheduling those meetings. We'll provide you with all of the things needed for those. We'll facilitate them. We'll help you facilitate them. That can depend on who your audience is. one of the things that's going to be important is to get people into these facilities so they can see why they need to be updated and renovated. And I know Dr. Cobb's had an idea of giving away football tickets if people would come to a tour. I'm not sure it'll require that, but, you know, I think the idea is good to get people there. We can stage people around the building to help show them what the needs are. And in conclusion, this process goes on even as we move into the next phase of the project. Once the bond is passed, we continue to keep that open line of communication, listening, responding with plans. You're key to the success of this with your input, because we're going to listen to you and respond when we do get to that envisioning. You saw kind of the graphics that we have, but what happens is you tell us what works and doesn't work between those plans, and it's a constant back and forth between us.
Well, with background in construction management, I bring certain expertise to the team with 30 years of construction management experience, and the type of expertise that goes along with that, and the ability for scheduling concerns, constructability reviews, logistics planning, all kinds of managing of process. And all of these things fall into the process that was just described leading up to the determination of the bond and how that's going to work, and see it really integral in that process, as Marcia and Kwame were describing. We began looking at the overall process of having a successful bond referendum, and we need to define a winning strategy to get to that point where we get that the bond into a successful referendum. So we did a little investigation and did talk to the Franklin County Clerk and learned that there's a 90-day filing period that we need to get in and pay attention to. So that's one real critical thing that we need to pay attention to and get it on and make sure that we're aligning our activities through all of our process to lead up to be able to achieve that. From that information, we believed that probably the most aggressive approach we could take to getting the referendum on ballot would be an April date. So we kind of set our process to lead up to that. And I don't want to take you through all these activities, but it's basically aligning with what we described in the process and what we would do through this duration, but leading into some of the milestones, basically showing beginning the bond scoping and planning about the end of September. When you make the selection, we get kicked off and get going with the process. And the second milestone is described as the bond scope established, because this is some of the process where we're hearing from you about priorities, we're talking to the community, we're fine-tuning, getting a better understanding of those. We have some interaction with costs and budgets, and have to get to a point where, okay, this is where we need to land on the scope of this program. That's near the end of November that we need to have that done on this. And then by mid to late part of December, we have to have the bond budget and scope defined so that it's ready to go to the county for the filing. And then basically showing the final milestone being the referendum election in April. And you can see that keeps us busy. I try to simplify it with this simple schedule that shows the start at the end of September, finishing in April, with within the line indicating the plan, listen, plan. There's a lot of interaction there. Sometimes in some perspectives that seems like a long way out, April of 2015, but when you take all this into consideration, there's a lot of work to be done to make this a success.
We are going to have to take a break pretty quick if we're going to get any questions in, so.
Okay. Just finally, after the passing of the bond, me as the construction manager will stay in coordination with the design development. I provide a lot of perspective on the school schedules, what has to take place, what needs to be accounted for. We look at sports schedules, we look at school activities, community activities that need to be considered so that when we're looking at the project schedules, that they coordinate appropriately with everything that needs to be considered. And then consider phasing, logistics, and things to accommodate all those activities. We need to have reliable budgets so you guys will be fully informed with true costs that you can count on. And this extends from before the bond is passed and throughout design so that it stays on target. And finally, we will keep an eye on constructability and make sure the best quality designs come out and minimize any possibility for future changes.
I'll sum it up for here. We just hit you guys with a bunch of information. And as my part, I'll be working as a lead engineer, working with on the site development, site analysis, and construction analysis, also working with Marcia on the community engagement. The topics that we hit on: local, reliable, experts. I was given the opportunity to move back to Ottawa, and I jumped on it because I knew it was time. It was time to come home, time to start giving back to the community that gave so much to me. And when I say give back to the community, it's starting to get involved, with whether it's the chamber, whether it's helping out with the Friends of COF, helping out at Rotary, Habitat. That's what we talk about being local, not just writing a check and being a part of something. It's actually being involved, and we show a commitment. It's just not me. Darren helps with the FCDC. Kwame's helping with communities and schools, helping to try to recruit kids back to Ottawa to show them what architects and design professionals can do. That's the commitment that we're showing. And with commitment becomes reliability. We take pride in our repeat clients. Whether it's Lloyd Builders, Neosho County Community College, OU, we know what it takes to get a successful team, to see a vision and help them achieve that vision. But also to be reliable, you have to show expertise. Whether it's picking up the phone when COF calls and has issues with some pavement or drainage and coming down and meeting with them, or helping OU and Neosho County go through their master planning to identify their visions and goals to help them become state-of-the-art facilities. That's what we talk about when we talk about expertise. We want to help you guys see that vision and achieve that vision. So these are our local, reliable experts. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Board members, you've seen a lot, heard a lot. Do you have something else you need to say?
No, just going to say, we'll open it up for questions
Yeah.
for myself or any one of us as, thank you.
So, anybody want to lead off? Dennis?
Sure, everybody's looking over here.
Yes.
Bill, I'll lead off.
Dennis always has the tough
But
question.
the style of your firm, and this might go to the architectural side, do you have any current preconceived or pre-focused designs of your firm? Is there any style? For example, we look in the past, we've had open door architecture for schools. We had the pie shape for the high school. Do you have a current trend that you're using right now that's your style, your emphasis in your design?
No. We are looking a lot at 21st century learning and what people are doing. What everyone is doing for 21st century learning doesn't mean it's right for you. And I think if you look at our work overall, you'll see that there isn't a consistent theme. We are very, very responsive to our clients, and we don't go in with preconceived ideas. We bring you the experts so that we can define what is right for you.
On your tours, you said you would tour facilities. Do we only to tour your designs, but if you've found through your research, because I believe you've hired a research person, if there's a facility that has been moving into a cutting edge that you haven't done yet, would you ever take us to one of those facilities?
Definitely. Definitely. You need to see what is out there right now that people are doing, whether we designed it or someone else. I want you to be able to make those decisions based by going there. It also allows you the opportunity to ask their staff and administration what works and what doesn't. What would you do differently next time? Because I guaranteed, no matter what project it is, there is something they would do differently at that time.
Next question. I think you've taken a tour with Dr. and Dr., and you've looked at some of our information, like our 3 surveys when we look at a community, and it's been fairly consistent all the way through on our needs and all that. And I guess these would be a couple, 3 together. Is there any particular new cost that we need to incur if we would engage you? Something new that we haven't done, or could it be a minimalist cost? Is there any other surveys, because we've done statistical surveys looking at projection of enrollment that has been pretty accurate when you look at our actual numbers in the school district, and I apologize for not remembering the firm which did that a few years back, but if you look at our actual enrollment on the projection, they were very accurate. And is there any redo of anything that you've seen or had been shared? For example, if we've done engineering studies on electricity, water retention, is there anything you've seen yet, or have you gotten that far on definite costs that we need to incur if we would engage you?
One thing when we took the tours, we noticed this project is very broad, that there's a lot that encompasses this project. And so we haven't got to all those, like the energy studies, that type of things, but those are all things that we can do. But it's also part that we want to sit down with you and make sure that we did review the surveys and everything, but make sure that we understand your guys' needs and the faculty and staff's needs before we go out. And maybe there's an area, when we look at the statistics, there's a certain area that didn't return surveys that we noticed. You know, maybe it's the younger generation that is going to have the kids. Maybe that's the areas we need to look at and see if we need to get the grassroots approach for those areas that Marcia was talking about, something that might hit close to home with them.
Next question, would you be willing to work with owner's reps? So we can have an owner's rep that's different than the architect and your firm to make sure you and the contractors are working correctly. Will you work with an owner's rep if we decide to hire one?
Absolutely. And I think I speak for all of us that that's not an issue, and that's something we've done in the past and are happy to do that.
What's your preference on contractors? Are there any contractors that you would steer to one way or another? Or are you open, who are you open to work with?
I think one thing, we look for quality-based services. Sometimes the cheapest is not the best. And that's what we look for. We look for contractors that this isn't their first project. They have the manpower and they have the connections. This is a smaller community and there are a lot of resources in this community, but there's also some things that would have to go outside. You know, we always like to keep projects local, but sometimes that can't happen. But we want to find the best fit, but is also reliable and is affordable. So there are local contractors that we have worked with as a team with like Ottawa University and stuff, and we have a great relationship with them. But I think it also depends on the magnitude of the project and how this project's scheduled, depending on if you do one project a summer or if you do 6 projects a summer or something like that, depending on if it's one contractor, or there might even be multiple contractors working for the school district at one time period.
I'll be more direct. Would you be afraid of a larger firm like a J.E. Dunn, an Excel, a Turner, if they want to bid on the project?
Yeah, go.
You know, I think what's important is to have the qualified people, and there's a lot of ways to do that. I'd certainly recommend if we go through a design bid build process, we would do pre-qualification of contractors, make sure that we have the folks selected that we would want. I think there are large contractors that are very competitive that will give leadership to the projects that you may want, but we can ferret those things, those contractors out too with a pre-qualification process so that we're comfortable with their capabilities and the way they'll react to your needs.
So that's a yes, you would work with a larger firm, or it depends, or are we locked
Yeah,
into something
yeah, we
else?
certainly could. Yeah, I think there's benefits to it, and they would be subject to the same pre-qualification requirements. So,
I imagine, we have worked with all of those and have good relationships with them, so that would not be an issue at all.
Susan?
And then the other question I
Oh, I'm
have.
sorry.
I got one.
Go
more.
ahead. If it's-
What happens if the bond fails? Are we tied to you for the next 10 years for the project?
Well, we'd hope so, but no. No, honestly, no. But this is about starting new and fresh right here today, and that's why we're here. And you can tell the passion within this team. And what we want to do is work with you to not allow that to happen, to start up front, get the community engaged, get them involved, get them excited, create that vision that Kwame talked about in order to sell the bond, do it right the first time. That's when Casey talked about quality services, quality engineering, quality architecture, and quality contractors. Again, it's not always about the price, it certainly isn't. It's about, these are schools that are going to be used by our neighbors, our friends, our clients in the community. So to answer your question, no, you're not tied to us. If it fails, your direct answer to your question, but we're excited to have an opportunity to work with you.
Susan?
Tell me about, not that there will be any, but tell me about the change order process and how you manage that.
Well, typically, the budgets will be set up, the way I typically arrange budgets are to have contingencies arranged so that there's no, basically no unforeseens, because we have a contingency set up to account for anything that's an unforeseen. But when we get into the projects that are proceeding and changes are occurring, we have the budgets established so that we have the methods to pay for these, and account for them appropriately as they go. But we need to hold people accountable for what they're required to accomplish by contract, and then administer the changes as necessary with change orders. The best we can do is to plan ahead.
Well, and given we've got a fixed amount of real estate to work with, it's a given in my mind that we're going to have to keep going to school while this process occurs. How do you plan for that?
That's what we're going to be needing to look at straight out of the blocks in pre-bond work that we're going to be doing. We need to see just what the scope looks like. Then we look at the logistics of performing that work and the alternatives to sequence work in operations of the school, or to provide temporary facilities potentially for students or activities that get displaced for some period of time. And it ends up being a balancing effort to determine what how badly you need to keep the operation where it is, or the balance of the cost to try and keep an operation as it is today. But that's all part of the discussion to create the best scenario for everybody.
If I may just answer that a little bit too as well. One example right here in Ottawa that you may look towards to kind of see how we handle that as a team. The SFS and Bartlett and West team worked with Ottawa University on the library in Union. Obviously, Ottawa University couldn't close down to build those facilities. There was a lot of programming up front as a team to understand, okay, President Eichner, help us understand how this can best meet your needs for your faculty, students and staff, and the community, and we can program what you want to have done to have a fantastic facility, but then also work with the contractor so that he can get his job done within those budget constraints. We've got time constraints, and classes still move on. People still got to move around campus. So kind of a long-winded answer, but it takes a lot of upfront understanding to make sure all of this can move forward, because there's a lot of moving parts here with the different schools. And obviously schools aren't going to shut down except in the summer when they're on recess, but there's things that are going to have to probably go before and after school are started and work together to figure out that solution as a team.
Board, maybe time for maybe one more question. Anybody?
Well, yeah, I have one. Looking, you know, in a general scope, you've gone and toured all the facilities that we have in the district, and what is your best guess on a 5,000-foot level of the facilities? Are we going? How much demolition could we be potentially looking at, versus how much reuse of existing buildings to expand or grow?
I'll start and you can finish, okay? You know, the one thing that's kind of a challenge with some of this is restroom upgrades, which doesn't sound like a big deal.
No, it's a
But,
huge deal.
but once you start trying to expand those and make them accessible, then you're eating up classroom space, more than likely. So what we want to do is look at the most efficient way to do that. Do you take one classroom and you get them all, the expansion done within that? It's really hard to answer your question to give that idea of how much demolition or that is required or expansion. But the deal is with our process of exploring multiple options and concepts, that we are always looking for the most effective, the least disruption that can be had. We do more than 60-70% of our work is renovations. We look for those creative solutions to provide ADA accessibility. We add elevators all the time. We have figured out how to ramp to get from one level to another between existing and new. There's many, many things I could share with you about how we've accomplished that creatively in the past. One thing I want to add, one of our projects from a few years ago, when you talk about keeping a facility open and running, we renovated the KU Union several years ago. But if you look at the phasing plans on that, to maintain that and keep it open through that entire process while all of the renovation was done, it was a huge effort, and kind of like trying to figure out a game of how you make all of this happen. But it all can be done. It just takes planning.
We're going to have to stop at this point. We do have two other presenters. One question I have, one very quick question. I'm assuming this is the team that we would be working with. Is that correct?
That is correct, yep.
Okay,
And this
okay.
is the exact team. These are the faces you're going to see.
Okay.
I'm not just here for a pretty face tonight.
You do have a very nice face. I
Oh,
want
thank
to-
you very much. That's at least good to hear.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
yeah, this is the group, and that's why we're here, because
Okay.
we would be working with you hand in hand, all of us, so.
Okay.
Any other questions, or?
Thank you.
We will be in touch. Thank you
Right.
so
Thank
much.
you very
We appreciate
much.
you stopping by.
Kwame's going to hand out a leave behind, and then
Okay.
we'll pick our board and go. So
Good.
thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, nice meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you'll leave some extra on that table. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thank you, board, for your attention. Linda, thank you for staying awake during the whole thing.
What's that all about?
Tired of those comments, huh? Tired.
It's good to see that pretty red roof of the concession stand, too, in that picture. That stood out. And I wonder, do you have any idea what day that was taken with all those buses in the north parking lot? Yeah, just curious.
It would have been. A week ago, last Friday.
Want me to move?
Good evening. Take a minute there to get set up.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad he's here. I'm glad he didn't expect me to do this. I mean,
We were, Susan, but we thought you looked tired.
I know, well, I have to have paper and pencil. I know it's old school, but hey,
Thank you
it
for
really works for me.
Me too.
Okay.
Me too. Gotta write it down.
I'm 100% charged, you betcha. Ready to go? Yeah, I wouldn't come half charged. I'm fully charged all the time.
I remember taking a class and it was a test time. I'm thinking,
Kinda scary.
Our second presenter this evening is DLR. Again, we're going to give you about 20 minutes to make a presentation so that we'll have some time for questions after that, if that's all right. And if you'd introduce the members of your team, we'd appreciate it. You're up. Well, I'll let everybody get settled.
Just so you
My
know,
name
there's
is-
a camera right
Okay.
there, so we're recording so that we can put it on our
Okay.
website. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kevin Gresher, and this is our team, and we are with DLR Group. The group that I have tonight with me is myself. I will be principal in charge. My role specifically is to lead this project from beginning to end, from tonight to whenever the project would end. You'll see me, and I'll be involved in that. One of the individuals that we don't have here tonight is Amber Beverlin. She's our project manager. She's on a well-deserved family vacation this week. She has 2 that are under 4, so she's having a good vacation with them. And she will act as a day-to-day operations person. She's going to run the team. She's going to be responsible for things that are going on through the process. Also, Jim French is with us tonight. Jim is our national K-12 design lead. Jim's role, the great part about having Jim in the Kansas City office or in Overland Park, is the fact that Jim is leading our K-12 practice around the country, and we get to be able to use Jim as our resource here in the Kansas City area. Andrew Van Leeuwen is also here tonight. Andrew will be kind of the hands-on person with our K-12 team. He is a designer. He's worked, both Amber and Andrew work hand in hand. They've worked on all of our major projects over the last 5 years, and I think they're exceptional at a team as well as kind of guiding the process of any project. So, and Rod Othout. Rod is our engineering lead. Rod will lead all of our mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural engineering in-house, and he'll talk a little bit about that a little later. So that's a little bit about us, but we're more than just architects, engineers. Truly, we are passionate about K-12. That's what this group here does. We only do K-12 architecture. We don't do banks. We don't do parking garages. We're K-12 architects and engineers. And across the country, again, as I talked a little bit about Jim's role, in the last 5 years, we've done over 500 K-12 projects, and a significant amount of those have been done right here. Certainly, you can see the projects that we've done for the Frontier League, and you'll see a number of those as we kind of walk through these. So, of those 500 projects that we've done across the country, you can see the significant numbers that we've achieved in elementary schools, in high schools, both new and renovations, as well as specific things that are related to some of the things that we saw in the RFQ that was out regarding the thoughts that came through on your vision team. So the things that are specific to what you're looking for or what you've seen in architects and engineers, we've been there, we've done that. So it's not all about just projects. It's not just about the things that you see that we've done, but it's also the results driven. We're not just about building buildings. We do know that our role is significant to education, and what we actually provide is results. This is 5089. Actually, that was the 50% graduation rate at Marysville Getchell. Once our facility was built, it blossomed to 89%. So I think facilities have a significant result in what education happens. The second project that we have here that's a McConnell Award winner, that's kind of our Oscar, the education world's Oscar for design. It's an international award that we won 2011 and 2012. Second one was for Joplin and identifying a 21st century learning environment in a 55-day period to get them back into school. So results is also about the success that we've seen in being able to pass bond issues in the last 5 years. Certainly, we all know the significance of the way that the economy has driven a lot of things that are happening, but I think that the value in what we've been able to achieve has been the fact that we have not had a failure in a bond issue in the last 5 years in the state of Kansas or Missouri. So that's about the results. We truly believe that success is driven not only by what we do, but a lot about the tagline that we call Listen, Design, Deliver. And it's listening to you, it's listening to your community. It's actually having you have trust in us. Once you have that trust in us, I think that it's very easy for you to make decisions along the way. We like to educate. We like individuals to know that are on that committee, on those stakeholders teams, about what it is that you have here, where you're going, what are the reasons for doing what you might be doing in the future. So engaging stakeholders is a significant part of what we talk about. And that's kind of that casting of a vision. You've already done that a little bit. You've done some thought process with your staff, with your community, talking about what would that look like. But what we do is we create an interactive situation where we're kind of bringing the community or that vision team up to a level so the decision making is made with an informed knowledge of where the future of education is going. It's not only processing and giving information to the board, but it's also bringing this group up so that as this gets to the community, we're engaging the community. This happens to be a mind map that we did with the community group just to kind of go through a process of finding out what is important to the community, what's important to this group that's making decisions. So that's kind of early visioning, but then we still got to make some pragmatic decisions. 20-60-20. 20% of the population are going to vote no matter what you say. 20% of your population would mortgage their home to pay for education. So it's the 60% in the middle that we really focus on. This is tried and true. We've proven it time in and time out. We have numbers that actually prove that 20% will vote no matter what we say. So the most important part of that is what we call the 50-50 rule. The 50-50 rule is the rule of we're going to need to get, there's a group of vested voters and there's a group of non-vested voters. Vested voters are those that are parents, teachers, staff, those that actually are affected by education every day. That could be grandparents. There could be groups that are actually can see the value of education in their community. But what do we have to do? We have to get 50%. Typically, we need to get 50% of that vested voter to the polls. And here's an example. This is Ottawa. You have 9,792 registered voters. If everything goes true, the last two elections, I think you had less than 15% of the electoral vote. So you've got 1,469 voters out there, so you need to get 50% plus one, 735 voters to say yes, if that is the direction that you go with a bond issue. Well, let's just say what do we have? Let's find out what vested voters we have. We have 2,537 students. We didn't have the actual number, but we used 1.7 as available vested voters. So you've got 4,300 vested voters. If you can get 50% of those, which is 2,150, somewhere in that neighborhood, so you need about 1,075 to 50% of that. You're well above your what you need. So some of this is just simple math for us, and we go through that process to make that happen. And then we've got as we said, we've got a vested, non-vested voter process that we go through. And design is something that comes once that is passed, then we can really start working on that design. Jim?
Okay. Good evening. My name is Jim French. Excited to be here. I want to talk to you a little bit about design, our process design. Okay, at this point in the process, we've done a very collaborative campaign with your community, your teachers, your administrators, your students, your parents. We've passed a bond issue. Now it's time to get busy and actually come up with the vision for your design. Here's what we know. Bricks and mortar are given. We're going to work very closely with your facilities people to make sure they're solid buildings. The bottom line for DLR Group, you saw the awards out there. We're all about creating learning spaces that basically elevate the student experience. That's what we're all about. It's important that we understand Ottawa's vision for this. I love the saying by Albert Einstein that we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we did when we created them. Why? Because our world is changing fastly. We're no longer in the agriculture age or the industrial age. We're actually the technology age. We're now in the conceptual age. Really great thinkers are the ones that are going to be the real successful people in the future. But also we have students that may not now go directly to college. They may want to be prepared out of high school to go into a career. All students need to be prepared. You've heard this thrown around, 21st century learning. We talk about it all the time across the country. It has to be defined by your community, by your superintendent, your board, you the board, your administrators. What does this mean to you? Project-based learning has been something that we've thrown out there that lots of districts are interested in. Why? Well, when you look at just pure retention of student knowledge that students learn, the most ineffective way for kids to retain knowledge is lecturing. But yet in many school districts, that's what we do. When kids actually do, they build, and they actually teach what they've learned, they will retain as much as 90%. So what does that mean in the spaces that you create in your schools? That's an important thing to know. We also know from a relationship standpoint that if kids are known, valued, their teachers know them, their students know them, their parents know them, that they will do better. Research shows that. And actually you'll have less incidents of crime within your schools as well. So creating spaces that are student focused, where they're built for them, makes our schools better. Places in your elementary schools where kids can act out, tell stories, because we know that's another way of how kids learn very well. Spaces where teachers can collaborate with their students, spaces that can be modified, doors can open up, and they actually have a connection to the outside. Kids will perform, research again shows, 26% better if they have access to natural light. It's an important piece of school design. Alternative spaces where kids can actually do multiple different tasks, whether it's with computers or not computers, or writing on walls. Even as little as a teacher sitting with a student in a hallway telling a story are all very important spaces to create within your schools. Technology-rich spaces where technology is seamless, it's used, it's collaborative. Gaming is a big part of education today where kids are actually learning from doing gaming is very important. When we did Joplin's interim school, kids were able to go out into the ancillary spaces, the hallways, and use technologies so that every space was used for learning in a school. In our schools we design today, there isn't one space that's not used for learning. We don't have hallways anymore in schools. Future-proof. In this school, in Lehigh High School down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, we have specialized learning spaces where kids will use places that may be set up for robotics one day and then used for energy in another day. In some cases, some kids are only coming to school 4 or 5 times a week, and they're using these kind of spaces because they're doing and going someplace else. So again, it's important that we design your schools to be future-proof. And then this whole issue of transition from high school to career to college is a big issue. The bottom line is making sure that kids take ownership on what their education's all about. And again, to do that, they have to feel like they're known and valued, that they take control and the ownership of their future, that they are responsible for. So it does have a result in what happens in their school spaces. Creating authentic spaces where there's rigor and there's relevance to what's happening, whether it's a school that's designed around aeronautics or it's a school that's designed around the medical professions. So where kids might come out of high school with a CNC certificate. Those are all critical things in school design today. Most importantly, memorable experiences. I love the story that Rick Atha tells all the time to his community about his new high school that DLR Group did for them. Kids can't wait to get there in the morning, and they have a hard time getting them out. Kids want to stay there all the time. That's what we believe schools are all about, is when kids don't want to go home, they want to stay in school. So, when we design and we listen, we learn from you. And together, we trust one another, and what we believe is we can create great innovation for your kids and great spaces for your community. With that, I'll turn it over to Rod.
Thanks, Jim. I'm Rod Othout. I lead the engineering team for DLR Group in Overland Park. And one of the reasons why I love working at DLR Group so much is our integrated design process and how we deliver our work. And so what I want to talk to you today about is how we're different than what a standard design process might be. A standard design process might be a bunch of planners and architects putting together a building, and the design is clear out here before they ever call an engineer to figure out how we're going to heat and cool the space or what kind of systems might get involved. At DLR Group, we're involved from day one. The engineers are involved in the process from the first day we start the project, when we interview with the project, with me standing here today. And we're involved and we make this process an integral part of the plan. So as it gets programmed and designed, all the special systems get added in there, all the heating and cooling ideas get included in the process, all the options that we have to share get shared with your facilities people when we start at the beginning, not at the end. And so we provide these comprehensive engineering services to lay on top of the architecture that we provide in this integrated fashion. And so what I wanted to share with this slide is it's not just plain MEP engineering and structural. We've got all that stuff, and more importantly, we've got all the special systems that go along with it. And it's not one or two projects or three projects. It's the 500 projects that Jim and Kevin just talked about. We're involved in all of those. That's how we do our K-12 business. K-12 expert designs that produce efficient solutions and bring a lot of options for you to decide and consider as you're deciding what to do with your project. It's everything. And so I brought a quick example as we were getting ready for this project. I kind of wanted to show you how our process works. And I know an elementary school may be something that you're considering as part of this bond issue. So we did a quick example of a 60,000 square foot elementary school in Ottawa, Kansas. And what I want to state before we get started here is this assumes that both of these projects cost the same amount of money. And an average design building would use about $83,000 a year to heat and cool and keep the lights on and keep everything rolling from a utility point of view. Our projects are typically designed to be ENERGY STAR performers. That's the top 75 percentile in the built environment. We've got several studies that show we do that again and again. That produces a building that uses $63,000 a year to heat and cool and run the utilities. A $20,000 savings for a more insightful design process that takes advantage of all the professionals from the first day. Another thing that I'd like to share with you is some of the new tools that we're using. When I first started, we drew lines on paper with vellum and ink and all that stuff. And today it's much different. All of our documents are prepared with 3D models like you see on the screen up here. Those provide terrific venues for visualizing what's going on from an owner, from a designer's point of view. And I'd like to point out up on the screen there the clouded area where you see that nice pretty silver ductwork going right through a yellow or a red piece of steel. We love to catch those before we go to construction, not during construction. Makes things so much easier for all of us and cheaper too. And these tools are terrific for doing things like that. And just a couple more slides here on how we use this BIM tool to make our lives more productive and help our designs be more rich and more developed for y'all. There's an example of an elementary school that's just a skeleton. And there's the same elementary school and we're just studying some of the HVAC. And then there's the whole building. And we can use those things and manipulate them and fly through them and show you all the different spaces, not in 2 dimensions, but in 3 dimensions with color and animation. And so it's a real life environment to help you make decisions as we go through the process. I'll let Andrew have a moment.
All right, so again, my name is Andrew Van Leeuwen. I'm an architect and a designer in our K-12 studio at DLR Group. And what I wanted to share with you guys tonight is that it's all about understanding your projects and your vision. We could have come to you with some ideas of what we thought you guys should do, but as you can tell, it's really important to us that we listen to you guys, understand your goals, understand your vision for the projects. So when we came and visited, we walked the sites, and you can see the front entry to the existing high school. And a lot of the clients we're working with are doing some of the same types of improvements that you guys are doing. So we want to kind of show you some of those environments that we have. So a new front door at the high school, bringing out the administration, giving a new sense of entry is an important thing for a school district and a community. It really gives the community an understanding of what's happening behind these 4 walls. So here's Hutch High School. Same situation, they had an existing entry. What we did there, and we listened to their needs, is they needed a new administrative area and a new lobby that really provides a sense of entry for their Performing Arts Center. So you can see on the right the after solution that we did what they had asked for, what they wanted in their vision. Another similar example in Independence, bringing again out an administrative area, but also listening to a sense of color, a nice sign. One of the cool stories about this project is at the end, the high school students actually gravitated towards the parking lot because when the sign was up and it was lit at night, they thought it was like the coolest thing in high school. They're all hanging out at the parking lot. So really giving a good sense of community and a good sense of entry for the students is important. You can see here at Piper High School, the same thing you can see. One of the client's desires was to have a good sense of school spirit, so we integrated the purple as one of the school colors. It's a little bit hard to see, but I'll point out on this wall, there's a metal scrim there that actually has their Pirates logo etched onto the facade. So again, integrating that sense of school pride, school community, school spirit at the front doors, one of the important things for those districts. School safety and security. And when we toured the schools, we obviously noticed some entry vestibules that needed some help with security. So we're finding that across a lot of districts is one of the important things is that there's a good safe entry to those schools. So integrating transparency so people can see who's coming and going, whether it's video surveillance as well, electronic key card sensors. So providing an environment that really supports a safe zone for students. You can see here the science room on the left and then the home ec space on the right. Providing spaces that are updated to today's technology and curriculum. You can see in the lab on the left is an updated science, a high performance space, transparency so people can see what kind of collaborative work is going on within the space. And then the space on the right is the culinary arts kitchen. That may be one of the projects your community is interested in is boosting that program from just in home economics to a culinary arts kitchen at Garden City, for example, on the right. We designed that where they're actually cooking and preparing food and actually run a small business, a small restaurant within the school. So students are preparing and they gain a real world experience about plating, about serving food, what goes well together. So I'm sure Dr. Cobbs really appreciates this photo of him.
Picture, Doctor.
Yeah.
He's doing a little jig.
Available?
But I think he's demonstrating the potential location for a performing arts center. We understand that this is an important aspect of your bond. So I apologize, Dr. Cobbs. But at Baldwin City, they had a similar need there, so we provided a new performing arts center. This is a facility that's not only used and seen during the day, but also used during the night. So having a nice night presence. This, as a side note, also serves as a storm shelter for not only the school but the community. So there's a lot of districts looking to do that type of facility as well. The weights program, the fitness areas. These programs maybe need a little bit updating, a little love, and one of the things we're seeing from districts across Kansas and across the nation is treating facilities not only for the student athletes, but also for the students and the community. So teaching less about pumping iron and getting built, but more about lifelong wellness and fitness. And these spaces begin to become looking more like health clubs or fitness centers. And maybe they're active and open for the community or for parents, teachers, really kind of an open, nice environment versus the old sweaty, smelly weight room that we may remember. At the elementary schools too, some updates and upgrades to that. As much as collaborative space is needed in high school, that's also an important aspect to have in an elementary age. Jim mentioned the need for natural daylight, spaces for teachers to work one-on-one with students, open collaborative areas that kids of that age level can get together, act out, storytell, things like that. We know a big aspect of this is a career and tech center. Updated facilities is definitely one of the needs that we heard when we walked and toured the sites. And at the Hutch Votech, they took that same idea and did it on a much more regional perspective. So not only they're bringing in kids from Hutch, from the Hutch school district, they're also bringing them from the regional area. So kids are coming into the community and taking courses there. One of the interesting things I wanted to point out too is they wanted this to feel almost like a convention center where students' work is being displayed. So if you look at the facade here, this is all glass, it's a little bit hard to see, but the students, if they've repainted a car, they can put that on display. If they've done a new structure in their woods class, that's on display. So it begins to become a showcase for the community, and also on the weekends serves as almost like a flea market where people can come and go into the facility. And I will mention too, behind this is a very economical metal building, if you will, but this becomes the front door, that front entry point of the VOTEC Center there. And then again, within, since it does bring kids from all different districts, there's a space, a common space that the kids can collaborate, showcase their work within, and provide that place for professionals, real world mentors to come and meet with them. We also toured within that building, the auto body shop. One of the things that we did at the Hutch facility too is work with professionals in designing these. I'm not an expert at designing an auto body shop, so why not ask the expert what are the spaces they need, whether it's a paint booth or these types of lifts. So students are actually getting a real world experience there. During the day, they can be doing real projects. If I need my oil changed and I'm a teacher, why not bring it to a student, let them change during the day? They take tickets, they run it like a business, they actually get that hands-on experience for those students going right into the workforce. In the wood shop, space seems to be an issue as well, and in the teaching area on the right. So safety, student safety is important, well-ventilated, well-lit spaces, plenty of space for kids to work. These are larger projects, more hands-on spaces needed, so providing that is obviously a need in what we did here at Garden City and at Hutch. So with that, I wanted to turn it over to Kevin, but I wanted to say, you guys have a really great opportunity. It's important that we listen, design, and deliver, because deliver is the most important part, because in 25 years, we want to make sure we've delivered it right. The community is happy. We've listened to them. We've given them what they've asked for, so that in 25 years from now, if you want to go through another bond issue, you have a good community support behind that. So it's important to us that we deliver a quality project for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Yep. So we've kind of taken you through the process that we go through. One is of that kind of understanding, do that pre-bond, figure out what it is, the vision of the community, what the community really wants to support. It's usually not about the dollar. It's usually about what it is, the project that you're looking at doing. Then actually embracing the community, embracing the staff, and looking at that design, looking at what it is that you want to do. And then delivering it, and I think we've shown that we've done that pretty significantly in other places, very close to you. We're excited about the opportunity to work with you. We know that this is a huge decision for you to move forward, and a consultant moving forward is a big deal. We at DLR feel very comfortable about how we deliver the products that we do, and would ask for the opportunity to be involved with Ottawa.
I appreciate it. Now we're going to have a few questions, if that's all right. Board members, what have you heard? What do you need to hear more of?
Well, I noticed one of the things in your presentation, you talked about building the need for the bond issue and then moving to design. That strikes me as a little bit different in what I've heard from different processes. Do you avoid the issue of design until after a bond issue's passed, or do you go about it with giving people some sense of what it might look like?
And absolutely. During the visioning process of design, what Jim talked about were specific design.
Sure.
During the bond issue, we work at probably the 10,000 foot level, because there are things that you need to identify, but designing specific spaces sometimes a little more difficult to do. But if we were talking about career and tech programs, if we were talking about early childhood education, if we were talking about just primary elementary school, those are, we've got lots of programs, lots of identifiable programs that we can put together for those things. And so going through that process, the visioning time that I talked a little bit about the education, because we typically would recommend that you put together a group of community members as well as staff as well as students, and that group maybe not as versed at the opportunities that are out there. And so that education component is there. So yes, doing the design at about 10,000 feet is probably where we would be.
I've got a few questions I'm asking each one of the firms, so I'll just go down my list if that's
Okay.
okay. Firm concepts, you talked about listening a lot. Do you have any particular concept that you put in every single building, or do you have any preconceived concepts that you have to have in your design?
No preconceived concepts, none at all.
Tours, you actually, when you look at our league, you've designed quite a few of the buildings. If there happens, do we only tour your facilities, or if you've seen a new design or something that's cutting edge that you've listened, it might be something we need? Would you ever go to another district that has a design that we might want that's not yours?
Absolutely. We'll go wherever, if there's new concepts of any sort, we'll go where those are.
Did you do Blue Valley,
We've worked in Blue Valley, yes.
their technology center?
The CAPS program?
CAPS program.
No, we were CAPS members, though. We were the first design team. We were one of the first CAPS program, and I'm on the CAPS advisory
So if we
board.
wanted to tour that together,
Absolutely.
we could do that. Okay.
We'll be touring that with another school district
Cool.
in a couple of weeks.
You've probably seen our surveys, you've looked at our community surveys, we've done 3 of them, the consistency, we've done ratios of students and growth. Is there any other particular survey or something that we must do before a bond issue? And I know it's probably too early for you, that you've really delved into it, but when you showed the statistics, you knew a lot about our voters and how many we need.
Yeah,
Is
we-
there any particular survey or anything we would need to add?
I wouldn't call it a particular survey, but we do like to poll the community along the way during the bond process. Once we get to an idea of a concept, whether that's a Survey Monkey, whether that's using Mind Mixer, which is an online service, which we have a national account with, whether that's doing telephone polling, we definitely think that those are all avenues to go down, as well as community engagement meetings.
Owner's rep, in this project, if we choose to hire an owner's rep to oversee you and the general contractor, what's your relationships with them, and are you willing to work with an owner?
You can call Eudora. We've worked with a number of owners' representatives. Now, whether that's somebody that's working contract for an owner, or whether that's somebody staff-wise, we are very accustomed to that.
Contractors, are there contractors that you only work with? Are there contractors you prefer to work with? In design build, sometimes architects and contractors are partnered. Is contractors open? What's your position on contractors?
I think that we would steer you towards some
Could you give some names, for
contractors.
example? Dunn, Excel, Turner.
We've worked with J. Dunn. We are working with them right now. Nabholz Construction. We've worked with McCown Gordon right now. Those would be some that would come to mind right off the top of my head.
This is a difficult one to say because you've been so successful, it's probably a stupid question, but if the bond issue would fail, are we tied to you for the next 10 years?
That ends up being a contractual agreement. Typically, we do. To be honest with you, we typically do because we work, because we are very confident about our services. We work towards the bond issue, and so we like to have that ability to at least try to pass it 2 more times.
And I've got one last one that I wanted to add since
Go
you
ahead.
did such a fantastic job on your voter statistics tonight. Mail or
That's what I was gonna
walk-in?
ask.
We're a mail-in group. We feel as though we've done both. In fact, we've done them at the same time. We've done a mail-in and Salina was a mail-in, Liberal was a walk-in. It depends on the community a lot of times. We kind of help, we get that kind of feedback during the process of the bond campaign.
Okay. And I've got a couple also.
Okay.
Change orders, although I'm sure we won't have any. But should we have some, what's your process?
Well, typically, our process is evaluating the changes that are actually put forth, whether that's by something in construction that happens, evaluating those and going through those and keeping those to a minimum. Our quality control process hopes, that's our hope, is to keep that process down, the change order process. One of the other approaches that that we like. We were a pioneer in construction management at risk. Jim was on the first project in Hutchison, construction management at risk, which is a pseudo approach to a design build process. We find that to be a great way of keeping costs down. You get a number, we build it, it gets done.
Not to exceed number?
And not to exceed number.
Okay.
And,
Shared savings opportunities?
pardon me?
Any shared savings
Savings.
opportunities?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with the state statute, the way it's written, there is no such thing as a savings, but there are contingencies set forth by the state statute for both the owner and the contractor, so you can set that up like that.
Okay. And then it's obvious we have limited fixed real estate. How do you plan to keep us going while we know this will not just be able to be done in one summer, although we'd like for it to be? But how will you keep us running as schools?
That's a standard process. There hasn't been a school that we were able to move everybody out of and start the process. We've gone through from school districts where we worked on 12 phases of completion to how many phases in Hutch, Jim? 6?
6 to 10.
Yeah.
We're doing a big new high school in North Little Rock right now. It's got 15 substantial completions just to try to keep them all put together.
So typically keeping, that's priority one. The two things is that we know that a period of time, especially in a high school, if you disrupt, that might disrupt some students' junior and senior year, and that's hugely important. We talked about it ad nauseum when we talked about Joplin and how that school was going to be someone's only school that they ever went to. And we don't want their experience in high school to be one of disruption. So we take that as very, very serious.
My two big things are bathrooms, and because we never have enough of them, being female, and just keeping us running for sure.
Sure.
But
And
at the high school, I mean, promises were made and then not kept. How do we go back? How do we figure that part out when we've expended funds to do something and then it doesn't happen? Like going from a 2-pipe to a 4-pipe system, and then it doesn't happen.
well, I think that the only thing I don't know the particulars of what did happen. I know we have talked about that in some of the discussions. One of the things that you will get out of us and in each one of these and individuals here is that you will get honesty and straightforward. I won't tell you what you want to hear. I will tell you either what it is that is coming forth, what you can actually afford, and I think that it's easier for us it's easier for our team to take a hit when we have to tell you, I don't think you can afford that, or those are the things that you can't do, than it is to promise you something and take it away.
One other comment I might make is that one of the things that we like to do with board members, if it's okay, is we like to interview board members. So we understand from day one what your expectations are. If we're going to get a reference from you at the end of all of this with your community, we want to know what each one of you thinks as far as how do we do that? What does success mean to you as board members individually? And when we've done that, we don't have as many problems with, I had this expectation, you didn't deliver on it. And the other is that you had mentioned earlier about design. We have to do enough information on design to make sure we understand all the issues and the costs related to that. Because the last thing you want to do is come back after a bond issue passed and tell you can't afford what you said you wanted. So
Well, that begs the question, is there a way to determine what we can afford prior to a bond issue, or is that something, I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't go into a bond issue if you didn't know exactly what you were building and what it was going to be.
that's one of the reasons that a lot of districts like the CM or CM risk avenue, because at the end of the day, we can give you an estimate, but the contractors are going to determine really what that cost is. And if you have your CM or the guys who can build your building with us as a third leg of the partnership, they're going to tell you based on the designs and the visions we come up to you what this should cost, along with us.
I guess I was thinking about it in terms of looking at it from the community standpoint, is there an upper end of what a bond issue is feasible for a community this size and those kinds of things.
Absolutely, and we'll go through that process during the early processing through the design of envisioning, because you do need to figure out what your community's threshold is for the opportunities that you want to put out there. And with our experience, I think that one of the values that we bring to the table is the fact that we've been there, done that. We understand what communities are going to accept, and we can tell you what we think communities won't accept. We've seen failures in the past, and I think that those are all based on, we've done bond issues where we went in and $28 million didn't pass 3 times, and we passed a $45 million bond issue. A $66 million bond issue didn't pass, and we passed a $127 million bond issue. So it's not always about the dollar. It's about the projects and the value to the community, and what each individual in the community feels is really tangible things that they can get their hands around. So.
3 years ago, we passed the largest bond issue in Arkansas history. It was determined by the community, and it passed very easily because we listened to the community. They said they want to get this done comprehensively across all their schools, and it was the community's plan. It wasn't a cheap thing for the taxpayers, but they made that decision. I just think that's the level that we go at to make sure we understand what your community wants and what their expectations are. And there are some cases where they're willing to spend more because they know in the long run the value of it's better for them. So that's just the community consideration, Madam President.
And see, that surprises me. I did not know they had schools in Arkansas. One last question, actually two. Is this the team that we would expect to be working with?
Yes, this is the
This
team
is
that
it.
you would be working with. This is who you see, except for Amber, she'd be
Right.
here.
And one quick question about timeline. If DLR were chosen 2 weeks hence, what would you foresee as a timeline, briefly?
I think one of the first things that we do is we recommend to, we'd sit down with the superintendent and start going through some of probably a 60-day look ahead, which would identify some time periods in there of identifying a team of vision. We call them visioneers, because I think the important component of that is that you do have to, you've already done a little of that. That's kind of set the pace, and so we can start moving in that direction. Getting on to these individuals' timeline, so that it's, whether it's a bi-weekly or if it's every week for a period of time, that we'd be meeting to start going through this process. So, we'll add some individuals to this team as we go, just because we need some expertise along the way, but and just some manpower. But I think you set up a 60-day plan that gets you to a point where you've probably had 3 meetings, whether that's vision team, whether that's with the board, whether that's a workshop with the board, because we'll also bring financial people on. You have your financial people who we work with, and you're going to have those people alongside of us working together to move the needle. So as far as a plan goes, I think the first thing is you're going to put that vision team together, and then you're going to start with some meetings, and we're going to start doing some of our education process on what it looks like, what a bond issue looks like, where we're going. If there's a target out there, let's say that the target is spring, we need to start moving forward. Because
And
we need it.
visionaries, is that in the Oxford Dictionary?
I think that is, we have we give a diploma out for visioneering. So.
Good deal. And there's no need to apologize for our principal's appearance. We think he looks just fine. No need to apologize in the future for that.
He said, I think I want it this big.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we thank you very much for your presentation, and you'll be hearing from us.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Those in the audience, if you want to take just a couple minutes, if you want to break, get up and stretch a little bit. We have one more presentation yet. We have some brownies and tea up here. but we would love to have you stick around for the last.
Yes, jazz hands. Thank you. It's called
Thank you very much, sir.
I certainly liked your track record.
I do
Their
too.
track record on passing things.
I like their three.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. The cooling through the beam, I mean, that, yeah.
Well, Alex,
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Alex had it happen in his plant in Waco.
You know, Town Center in Leawood, they were having a delay when they were first opening up 15 years ago is because they forgot to put drain lanes in the floors.
Yeah, I was talking.
Seriously. Can you imagine?
Brownie over there?
Yeah, I think they've got some over there.
Cool over there? Yeah, but drain
Yeah, I do. Yes, how are you? I have DLRs and I have
Bartlett.
Bartlett West. I have it on my laptop.
You have access to it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so we can make that happen so that people in the community.
Can you edit out the Arkansas? Con.
You just never know, do you?
Sweet talk man.
No, leave it in. I have no reason to apologize.
Here's what I told you all the time, that I put them to sleep at night because it comes out at 10 p.m.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thanks for coming.
So you want to out of school as a nurse?
Yeah.
You get out of the breath taxes and figure
I
that out.
appreciate it. Thank you. We'll see you after bell.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. It's very good to see you. Thank you.
Well done. Appreciate it. Thank you. It's a pre-submission. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
It's nice
bet.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
Brian is like.
I like chocolate.
Not chocolate. Oh, I'm sorry, Susan.
Well, they're fun and all they do is. I hate to ask him the question since he said he doesn't have time. But I think that goes back to our relationship before. You know what we're really in for.
Can you
Instead of
get
some
away?
surprise, it says, I will build the building. That was different.
I don't know if I can be, if I can sit to the next one. I'm just
Cold.
I'm freezing.
My kids keep taking coats, and I said, what? They said the high school is absolutely freezing. So my daughter says the high school is at every room is like a refrigerator.
Well,
It never worked. It's not worked in 50 years.
Oh, it is now.
I forgot to
She
ask
says it is so cold.
No, I mean, the heating and cooling has never been right in that
Oh.
building for 50 years.
My
and
question is,
even when we did spend money, we were lied to.
why in the world are they, with all that ground, not putting in ground source heat pump systems that would cut your energy cost way down?
That's something we can consider on new. We just didn't have the money to fix it. We'll discuss that. And
No, I mean, I'm thinking you could get your money back in 25 years by installing it, retrofitting on existing buildings.
Like they did the courthouse.
Because it doesn't have to be a huge area. If you drill down, you actually get groundwater and hit a well. Then you can go back to putting, pointed roofs, not the flat ones with the heating and cooling systems up on top.
To listen a little better.
So you actually get runoff so it doesn't leak.
All right. Here's the DLR.
How are you? Thank you for having us out tonight.
Good evening, sir. Nice to see you again.
How are you?
Doing great. Doing great.
We should all stand up
Yeah.
for the presentations. It would go
Have a
fast.
brownie if you want.
I'm just wondering.
So you already had your card right there. I get a clean one. That's good.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
you've actually met
Hi,
him
Tim
and you
Catlin.
came
Nice to
back.
meet you.
I did.
You're just the best.
We're okay.
New hardware's been found.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, thank you.
Good.
I'm all about PSYOPs.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
I love that. My grandson has that type of room. And all the classrooms are off the commons area like that. It's just fabulous.
Thank you.
That's why I didn't bring paper.
Is that a two-sided placemat?
We're eco-friendly.
What?
Well, I was looking at the
Do you
thickness,
crash
so I
yourself?
thought maybe it would be
That's probably because you don't have permission.
If you need a new printer, I'll give you my card, I'll get you.
I
Cool.
said to somebody,
If we could have folks return to their seats,
work, and they
we'll
said,
begin here in just a minute.
Give me a couple minutes. Quite frankly, just blew up. I'm more concerned about visioning homes.
You have one rowdy.
Need where I'm trying to go.
But
my brother's been deployed.
rev up your motor and you
Time in the military, Friday he was deployed.
Oh yeah, now we got what we want,
Oh,
and we
he
have no
only
way
had
to
10
get there.
seconds to talk and missed him. Dang it. Biggest paper, voted biggest paper.
My placemat's bigger than your placemat.
Computer's like blown up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just find it interesting.
Kids will. Did it crash?
It must be poor TV night is all I can say.
And I want it noted it wasn't my fault.
Yeah, I heard my dad just called me and said they were on. I thought maybe I'd listen going home, but I said don't bother.
There wasn't anything to listen to. Until the errors occurred, it was okay.
You notice he's smiling. Last time I saw him, he had a Yankees shirt on. I'm gonna buy him a Royals shirt.
Had the Yankees shirt on? No, no, we don't talk about Yankees in my household.
Almost.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Happens to all of us.
We're waiting just a sec for
Not a problem.
technical difficulties.
Put it on the laptop too.
We're coming up.
Okay.
Slowly, but it's coming.
Constant
Okay.
stream
Should be
of
good.
things going on my phone. It's like, oh,
Positive IT thought.
That's all it takes sometimes.
I know usually if I call the IT guy over, it's fixed, and then he just thinks I'm
Yep.
crazy.
Or turn it off and turn it back on.
Yes. Yes.
It's always
That's my
my
first go-to.
Because I haven't had it on for a couple of years.
From 3 feet? Yes.
Yeah, like, that happens to one of our guys. He needed a new phone. I'm like, what'd you do to your phone? He's like, dropped it. Where'd you drop it? Against a wall.
Against the wall.
I'm buying that. Yeah. Wasn't working before, I'm sure it's not working now.
25 years ago when I got in the Marine Corps.
Oh, in front will come in? Oh, yeah.
Old style radios, Vietnam era. And when they started making fun, we just
Yeah, when.
drop them on the ground, pick them back
And
up.
don't boys have like shorter station tubes in their ears or something like
You
that?
get a new one
I heard
that
something
way?
about.
I can't do that so much with the ones they got today, but you know.
I was gonna say, yeah, that doesn't work as much anymore.
No.
And they don't buy it, you just dropped it either.
Well, you know, IT now has to deal with these large files. You know, most of our work is big graphics, big files and stuff. And I'm old enough when we started, we had a slide carousel, and you'd have to load all the slides and hope they didn't jam.
So
Then
you almost
pretty
wish
soon
you
we
could change the
had
pressure in the
dual
building
slide
then.
carousels and
You needed like a.
I always remember a story, and the firm's gone. They're out of Topeka, Kansas, Keeney and Bradley, and one day, one of the partners told me, we showed up, and he goes, I went down to Wolf's camera, got our slides, put them all together at home, went to the deal, and he goes, first slide's up, my kid's sitting around the Christmas tree. Next slide up, they're opening the presents. And I said,
Fire-wise,
I said,
but
did you get the job?
when
He
they
goes,
can move around, I don't have to carry that stuff with them.
Very personalized presentation.
Exactly.
I appreciate the patience of the audience. I also appreciate your patience, presenters, because we've had some
Compared to a nice sunny day like today.
2 previous presentations. And can we move forward, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get introductions out of the way. and
Yeah, that'd be good. We would appreciate if you'd introduce your team to our board, and we'll give you about 20 minutes to present, and then we'll have some questions for you, I'm sure.
okay, all right. You want me to go ahead and start now, Bill?
Yeah,
or-
go ahead,
Or
go
not?
ahead.
So, I don't know if this is on and everybody can hear me all right.
Yep.
hopefully that'll come through. So my name's Mark Franzen. I'm the president and CEO of HTK Architects. And first of all, I'd like to say thanks for having us out here. We appreciate the opportunity. We appreciate being last. We hope you've seen some good presentations, and we're hoping that the last one gets to raise the bar a little bit because we'd really like to work with you guys. So I've been with HTK since 1981, so it's been a while. At one point I started as a student intern, and you just slowly, pretty soon you look around and you're the old person in the firm at that point in time. I don't know how that happens, but with me tonight, and you're going to see some of this in the presentation while we're waiting for some of this to come up. In order, I guess, Elizabeth Johnson is behind me. She's our marketing director, comes out of our Topeka office. We've got two offices, one in Overland Park, one in Topeka, Kansas, to service most of our clientele in the Kansas metropolitan area. To her left, or her right, thanks, the other right, Gordon Kimball. Gordon is one of our project managers, and we've listed him as your project manager. He's run some very large, complex projects for school districts, multiple phases, all the way from new buildings, new elementary schools, one of his last ones, to renovating high schools, and a lot of that similar projects to what you've got here today. So we're going to show you a little bit about that. Gordon's been with the firm 17 years. Elizabeth's been here 11 years, and then to her left, her other left that is, Carl Holden. Carl is a mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineer with Henderson Engineers. We use outside engineering consultants. They tend to work with other architects. They don't get pigeonholed in just working with HTK. So we see they bring a lot to the table. They are the largest building engineer in Kansas City, not like some of the big power plant engineers that you see, but they are the best that we've seen and worked with over the years, and Carl's going to talk a little bit about his firm when we get there. So looks like we're ready to go. I appreciate that. That was nice cueing, so. Awesome.
And just a reminder, Mark, you are being filmed also, which
Okay.
our community will be seeing, so no swearing, no negative comments about board members, please.
I think I already blew one of those
Yeah, that's
earlier
right.
here, so darn it. Can I say dang it? Dagnammit, something like that. So which one am I going to push to advance?
Right.
Right one? Okay, sounds good.
Your laser pointer if you need it.
Again, we appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. We hope to tell you a little bit about HTK, tell you a little bit about what we would do with you guys as your bond issue progresses, and as far as building consensus, determining the scope of work, and working closely with you. Talked a little bit about our team. We're always at least 2 deep on our projects. You're going to see a managing principal, you're going to see a project architect, and then there are many more behind the scenes. You're going to see interior architects, other individuals that will support this team throughout, but you will always see Gordon and I and Elizabeth through your bond issue here, so that they're always 3 deep. You should get answers fairly quickly from us. Carl, again, will be involved. Carl will lead in his firm, and there will be a number of engineers there, and you're going to find out a little bit about some of the specialized engineering services that they have to offer. Just the facts about HTK. I know we're here in the short list, so you've done your research already. I'd be remiss if I just don't hit a few of those points. The firm started in 1958 in Topeka, Kansas. Joe Terrell left a firm that did Topeka High School, which is a glorious high school. So started out with a very good background of educational experience. What's left out of the HT and K, Glenn Horst, the H, is passed away. Joe Terrell is still here. And Gary Karst, a very good designer that came out of California, has passed away. All were my partners at one point in time. I became a partner in the firm in 1987. These folks have done a tremendous job building our educational client base in the state of Kansas. We've got a qualified team, very proven team. You're going to see personalized attention. Very important on these projects. They're difficult at times, they're complex. You need a partner that's going to stand shoulder to shoulder with you, work with you to help you get what you want and what you've paid for in your school district. I know you've had some issues in the past, so I feel that's going to be a very important part here. Some of our design philosophy and tenets in the firm. We've won a lot of design awards, first-time projects on educational. We've won a lot of things from groups that you are very familiar with, American School and University Magazine, CEFPI, National School Boards Association. We work very hard to make sure that these designs meet your needs and tell a story and show that how we solve those. It's not about us designing something for ourselves. We leave these communities, we want you guys thinking highly of those. We're innovative in the way we do things. We bring a lot of solutions to the table. We're problem solvers. Value, you will see an item down there. The value is we're going to save you money. We're going to show you options and ways to achieve what you want to do and let you as a board pick those ways so that you get the most bang for your buck. Sustainability is a huge thing you'll hear in architecture right now. Green architecture, you'll hear a lot of greenwashing terms. Where the rubber meets the road is in your energy savings. I would also like to see whatever we do be a three-dimensional class room or a textbook for our students so that they are learning. You know, I learned how to recycle as my students taught me that, or my kids taught me that through grade school. That comes from the school and goes home. We think that's an important part of what we do as designers. Repeat clients, I talked about a couple of my old partners that have since left the firm, but one of the first things I saw was they needed to provide a level of service that would feed their firm for a long time. Firm started in 1958. You're going to see we've got some clients up here that are 50 plus years old. There's only one way to get a repeat client, and that's to do a tremendous amount of service, probably under-promise and overperform. And at that point in time, we hope the very first call you have is to HDK to have us back. Haven't worked with you guys in my career. I think Dr. Stroh knows that the firm did work here. We did this building. We did the high school, good and bad. That was long before I was with the firm back in the 70s. So I might have made it to high school at that point in time. But our goal is to do such a good job with you that you will refer us to other clients too as we leave you with your project. So, and there's only one way to do that, and that's great service. I talked a little bit about HDK being school architects. You will see us. We support your organizations, your conferences. I attend the same meetings you do. I learn how to become a board member, how to deal with people, how to build consensus. There's a certain language and way to go about this business, and so we try to stay abreast of that. And I want to let you know that. This is not our first educational project. Sampling of our K-12 projects. We've got, this is just some of our recent ones. Over those 50 to 60 years now, we have a ton of projects. Most of them are in Kansas. This is where we concentrate our business. We give back to these communities. They have been tremendous to us and our firm, and we've made a lot of friends there. I'm sure you'll recognize a few of those names. These are just a few. We've done well over 1,000 projects in the state of Kansas alone. We work in Kansas and Missouri on K-12 schoolwork. It's our primary market. I talked a little bit about Carl, and if Carl would step forward for a second, I appreciate that. Carl would tell you just a few minutes about Henderson Engineers and why we feel they're very good in what they do. Carl?
So this is the engineering piece where people's eyes glaze over. Hopefully it doesn't happen too much. I think that's why I'm in the middle here. I did want to mention a few things about Henderson Engineers. We are a national firm, but the Kansas City area is our home. That's where we were founded in 1970, and since then we've done a lot of work all over the world, and especially nationally. But we're divided up in such a way that we have a very small feel internally, despite our size. And so my emphasis has been the K through 12 market for my 11 years at Henderson. And you know, it's something that we take seriously as HDK does, and that's why we're good partners. Is we want to make sure that our clients are pleased with the work that we've done, and we have a high percentage of repeat clients because of that work that are many well known. So I wanted to point out also our disciplines. We're a multidisciplinary firm, so we have a lot of different types of consultants within under our one roof. So we have acoustical engineers, we have engineers that work on the AV portion of design, performing arts centers and that kind of work, technology for the data infrastructure, and of course the mechanical, electrical, plumbing. We also have commissioning that kind of is the hands-on and able to give us feedback on our designs in regard to, is it going to work? What's the feedback you're getting from looking at other engineers' drawings, and are there challenges in the industry that we're seeing that we can be a part of a solution for? So we have all those under one roof, and that's kind of one thing that sets us apart, is having all those resources. And I benefit from that. I'm a mechanical engineer by training, and that's what I do. But sometimes I need the advice of a acoustical engineer. And it's nice to be able to run up over to another area or up a floor to talk to somebody that can give us input immediately. And we feel like that's important for pre-bond services, especially because we can bounce things off of folks early on and say, what's going to be the impact down the road? How can we plan for these things as we look at what we may do to a facility or how we may incorporate something? And we can get that live feedback, and it works really well. So some things that we have to look at, and I don't know if anybody got to see or be part of the 150th anniversary or birthday party this weekend, but I was really intrigued by the video, the Welcome to Ottawa movie from 1966 and the recent one as well. But it was interesting to me that the statement was made highlighting the high school, that it was built open for fall classes in 1966 for modern educational opportunities. And that's quite a statement to make about a school that now we're talking about, saying, you know, it's maybe time to look at some of that. And some things have changed. A lot has changed since then. And part of our role will be to look at what has changed. What are the codes that have changed? What's required that we need to address in these buildings so they're safe? And we can be proud of the fact that we've thought through those things and addressed those things. What's necessary? What are the things that just aren't working? We need to be able to, at the end of this, know that we've given you solutions for how to address issues that are just ongoing plumbing or mechanical or electrical issues that we can find in any building of this age. And then what's best? You know, what would be the best thing to do for the dollars that we would spend now, and how can we ensure that the buildings run efficiently so that down the road we're using the ongoing costs, we're efficient with those as well. And finally, our role would also be to look at what is important. How can we ensure from a thermal comfort standpoint, from a lighting standpoint, the acoustics, how can we ensure that the project, as we consider what to do, factors in what's important for the kids to be able to learn, the children to be able to learn, and to have an environment where they can, despite maybe the age of a building they're in, make improvements so that they can understand that they're in a safe place, a place that's comfortable, where they can really learn. So those are the kind of the ways that we would be involved in an engineering standpoint at this point in the project.
Thanks, Carl. One of the reasons we have Carl, I've enjoyed working with Carl over the years. They're a fantastic firm. They have saved us money. They bring innovative ideas to the table. I think they've really provided great service, so they're on our team for that. I just want you guys to know that. I'm going to talk a little bit about, as we move forward here, some of it's going to be a refresher for what you saw in the booklets to get us qualified, to get us to this level, but I'd be remiss if I don't kind of mention a little bit of that again as we go through. HDK is an educational design architect. We've done a lot of facilities. Elementary schools, you're looking at a possible elementary school here as one of the items that was identified by your committees early. We do some great elementary schools. These can be as small as 300 students. I've currently got a 1,200 student one going in Tonganoxie right now, our biggest sized elementary school. They should all be great people, places, safe and secure learning environments as we go through those. High schools. We know that the high school is a major component of this. You've done a lot of studying. You've got some things that are failing over the time. You know, it's approaching 40 plus years. It's time to replace some systems, modernize that facility. The way we deliver our curriculum is different today. We need to look towards the future and where we're going with that. You'll see some of our high schools here, and we've got, I think we've done 8 in the last 5 years in the metropolitan area, so we've done a lot of these. We've also renovated a lot of them seamlessly, so where you can't tell the new from the old as we've addressed those. All kinds of spaces in the high schools. We understand there's been the identification of a possible performing arts center or an auditorium. We've done these from black boxes to small theaters to large theaters. I've talked to the folks here already. To me, this is going to be your crown jewel. If you go forward with this piece, it is a community asset. I feel like our pre-function space ought to be open with a lot of transparency, ought to glow at night. Most events are in the evenings in the wintertime. I want you to be able to approach it, see lights, see people in this pre-function space. I want that to be a spot where we can gather as a community. I want it to be a spot where we can display student art and then go in and see the productions as you go forward with that. This will also save you time from the community theater where you have to tear down and bring your stuff back each time. So your setup time will be saved on this also. Science classrooms, we talked a little bit about that. These are changing every day, basically, and we're also talking about a career and technical center here. So this goes a little bit hand in hand with that. Your current science rooms have 18 seats in them. You've got 24, 25 students. You're overcrowded. That becomes a safety issue. When I stepped into them, nothing's been done since this building was done. I mean, same top, same cabinets, other things. They look like that. It's going to be hard to attract students and staff to these spaces. We are now in a global marketplace where our students need to be prepared to leave this community, either in a job in this community or leave and go on to college. They need to be a productive person in a global economy, and science and technology is where a lot of this is at right now. So you're going to see a lot of emphasis placed on that. Media centers. Currently, it's in the right location at the high school. It's in the center. It's the hub. It should be the heart of your school, but it's a library. It's not a media center. It needs to be dressed up, brought up with finishes. It needs to have an infusion of technology, video production. There's a lot of items that are offered to these students now rather than just books. Basically, access to information. You'll see I've got a couple of things on here. I'm trying to mix some slides. The top slide's in elementary school. That happens to be one of the Blue Valley ones there. So I just kind of wanted you to see different grade levels because you will have those also in your new elementary school. Safe and secure entries. You do a great job right now. If any building is safe in your community, it should be your school. Kids need to come here, not be bullied, and not be threatened, not worried about being abducted. We don't need anybody in a building that's not supposed to be there. You currently use a camera system and you are buzzing in people at the front door. There are pinch points now where we bring people in. We can kind of make sure we've got a person-to-person contact in these, and I think those are the items we're looking at the elementary schools as well as the high school to create new entrances that are inviting but very secure also as you come into these facilities. Career and Technical Center. I heard a lot of emphasis placed on this. Again, you want to graduate students that are prepared to either go to college or become a productive person in your community in a job. This gives you an opportunity to try different academies. I think cosmetology was mentioned. We heard auto tech. The pictures on the right are the auto tech at Olathe School District. A fabulous facility. Love to get you up there to take a look at it. The other one is a technology center for training there. What we're seeing now is these jobs that used to be hand or what we call dirty lab jobs, they're not that way anymore. They're technology driven. Gives you a chance to teach your students some things, gives them a chance to experience things possibly before they go to college and save their parents money too, as they generate some college credits here. And I know that you've got a great synergy with the Neosho County Community College here. So there's going to be some synergies here that we've got to look at. Locker rooms, down below the current gym, the locker room's in sad shape. For those of you that have been down there, it's time to freshen those, make them a better area for our student athletes and the people that are looking at lifelong skills of athletics and training kind of deals. Just show you a little bit of some of those things that we've done in the past. Wouldn't take much to do. I think we can look at adding onto that in the weight room, might push that out a little bit and gain us some seats in the gym. You've got some star basketball players that have come through here. I don't know why you weren't able to send that second one to K-State, but would have really liked to have seen that since I'm a diehard K-Stater. Our interior, hopefully that won't hurt us with the KU folks up here. So the super graphics. Our interior architects are working very hard to make sure that these are fun places for our students. They give us an opportunity to be totally immersed in what you've got going on here, the excitement of the school district, whether it be sports, academics, events, social things. Social media is a big part of that now. I walk down your hallways, your trophy cases are old, they still look like the 60s. There's ways we can start to develop some things that make this a fun place for them, all the way down to student stores and some things like that that we've talked about, retail spaces. I'm going to talk a little bit about the HTK design process, and Gordon, if you would, I'd appreciate it. So Gordon is our project manager, and I'd like to get him as part of this because, again, these are the folks you're going to work closely with. I want you to see them and understand how we work, and we'll work with you as a board.
Thanks, Mark. So you kind of see the chart we've got thrown up here, and Mark's talked to you a lot about the different things we have done. You've seen examples about, finished projects here in the area, in the states, here both Kansas and Missouri. And I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about the process that goes into that, because we don't know all these things day one, just like you guys, we don't know what your facilities are going to look like. We might have different visions of that. People have different ideas. They've shared that at community meetings. I'm sure a lot of you all up here on the board have had your own thoughts about what the right way to go might be and what that might look like. But we do have a pretty good process that's been working for us pretty well. And you'll see that broken down here in several phases. We do talk about programming. What are the spaces you need? How do you want them to work? What are your goals for those spaces? How do they need to relate to one another? And this is all part of the pre-bond services that we're talking about. So we are going to kind of focus on that. You see a star there on the sheet, just indicating the reference point in which a bond issue would be placed. So we do our programming. Again, that's an interactive process with all of you, with the representatives from the school district, whether that be students, patrons, teachers, everyone that's got some ownership in that. And then we go into a conceptual and our schematic design, which is really the fun part about design. Think about big ideas, set that vision for what the project is going to look like, or multiple projects. Maybe talk about tying different things together throughout the district. The last several phases kind of happen later after the bond issue, and I won't spend a lot of time on those, but it is just developing and refining those designs into an actual product of construction documents that the building can be built with. And we do like to stay on through that construction process, because we have had a part in the initial conception of the ideas. And a lot of times some firms will try to pass that off to different people in the firm, like there's one idea guy, one drawing guy, and one guy that's out in the field doing stuff. And we don't like that approach. We like to have the same people continuously through the process. So it would be myself and Mark the whole way through. And he talked a little bit about being too deep, and we like that. Just because if somebody is unavailable, being out of town or sick, you still have one other person that's always going to have firsthand knowledge of the project. Another big part of pre-bond services is building consensus. And I know you guys have got a good jump on that already with a lot of community meetings. And we'd really like to get the download on all the things that have taken place there, what's been discussed. We have done this a lot of times before ourselves as far as the design process, and so we can add, I think, some good value to what's already been discussed, maybe challenge some ideas that some folks have put out there, but we like to be flexible as well. We like you guys to get to the building that you want out of this, and so we see ourselves as more of a tool to be used by the district. And again, teachers and staff, administration, patrons, students, we want to hear from all these different groups so they feel like that they've got a part in these new facilities. Design and planning. So it might seem kind of like a mystery right now as to what these are going to end up looking like. And this kind of walks through the process of at least how we see the different pieces and parts of that process breaking down. And so the light bulb there, just the idea, what's the thought? Okay, yeah, we want to expand our gym, or we want a new performing arts center. And then we start developing different relationships based off that, taking the needs that you guys share with us and putting those together in a way that starts to indicate some kind of a shape or form. And as you can see how that progresses there, we look at different options. We want to look at something, say new elementary school, something linear, something radial, something centralized. And then towards the end of that, we have something we can actually put out to the public and say, hey, this is our concept. for the school, how it's going to be arranged, how it's going to function. And that's a good communication tool for you guys to share to help build bond support and help people to understand what we're trying to accomplish as a team. Throughout that process, we also do cost estimating. We've got a fantastic track record of being right on bid day, and then a continual refining process as we bring them back for your reviews. Bond campaigns, we have somebody in-house who is an expert on bond campaigns, so I'm going to bring Elizabeth up here and she can chat with you guys about that.
Thanks, Gordon. That's a lot of pressure. I see that we're nearing the end of our time, and we want to be very respectful of your time. So I will just tell you that I hope we've conveyed to you that we are educational architects. So we have been a part of a lot of bond issues over our years. So we have a lot of lessons learned, and we want to share those lessons with you guys. We will be here throughout the process, again, in the beginning when we're deciding on concepts of what we need to do, and then again when you're running your campaign, and help you with what the district is to do. If you're to form a yes committee, we can help that committee with subcommittees and how to move forward. We'll also be available to help with campaign materials, whether it's yard signs, flyers, something we're sending home with the kids. We'll also be available for your community meetings. So just know that we will be a resource for you guys from the beginning to the end, and we've had a lot of experience. And just quickly, here are a few of the bond issues we've been a part of very recently. But again, the list goes on and on.
Okay, like Elizabeth said, we're coming down the home stretch. I'd like to just leave you with a few things here, and then we'll open it up for 10 minutes Q&A. HTK has been around a long time. We're not going anywhere. You're not going to get the bait and switch. The people you see here today are not professional public speakers. We're architects and we're engineers, and this is what we do and our passion. So this is what you're going to get. There's a couple of things up there I'd just like to hit on. You can read all of those bullet points that you want, but I'm going to tell you right now, our firm normally under-promises and over-delivers. We're going to save you money. You've had some issues with your last bond issue. I know that because I read the paper. You never should have been put in some of those, in that situation, so to speak. We're going to be here on site. We're going to look after you. We're going to take care of you. We have very tight documents, which means our contractors are not guessing when they're at bid day. So you're going to get apples to bids, and they're going to be competitive without any guesswork. Throughout this construction administration process, our bids right now are averaging 4% below our estimate. We'd like to come in just under it. We don't want to leave a lot of money on the table. We don't want to go over. There can't be any surprises. You have a bond issue, you can't go back and ask for more money. As far as saving money, our change orders are averaging 0.5% right now for non-owner initiated change orders. AIA reports currently 2.9 to 3.1%. We're less than 1%, and that is for educational projects in the Midwest. So we're going to save you money, whether you know that yet or not. We work hard for you. We treat it like our own money, and it's important that you get what you paid for when you go through this. So I just want to leave you with that. I'm going to open it up for questions. We might be over our time. I didn't look when we get started here, but again, I'd like to say thank you very much. We really appreciate this opportunity. I know you've interviewed two good firms. I hope we've raised the bar a little bit here, and we look forward to having the opportunity to work with you. We're excited about that opportunity, so thank you very much as a board. So,
Appreciate it. Board members, anybody have a question? Multiple questions?
Yeah, you answered mine about change orders. So how do you keep us going, since we have limited real estate and we have people that need to still go to school while this process is going on?
yeah, good question. School district work, I get that question asked a lot about how are we going to work on an occupied site. There's safety issues to deal with. We have to phase these projects. We've got to be creative how we do that sometimes. That means we've got to look at which summers are available and when we can do new construction. It means we might move people into the new construction once that summer is over, free up existing space where we can go into the building and do that. It's a little like being married. There needs to be some very good communication all the way through this. It's not easy. There's going to be some disruptions, but if we talk, we're going to minimize those disruptions. We will also have pre-installation meetings where we can work with the contractors, and we'll set the rules they have to play by in your buildings. What they wear, how loud the music is, what happens on the campus, where they can park. There's just a lot that goes into that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's something we do every day because we rarely have the luxury where a school district has another building where they can move kids over for a while we work on another building. So very important.
I'll go down my list.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Firm concepts, do you have a particular concept that you actually deliver every time? Do you have preconceived design issues? How do you work on your design process?
We try not to. Each building is unique in its own. And I can't remember whether it was Gordon mentioned it, but what we'd like is for you guys to have a sense of authorship when we're done. It's important for me. It makes me feel good when I hear people say, you know what, they listened. It needs to be unique here. What I do for the Blue Valley School District may not fly here. What I do out at Goodland may not be what you want. This is a different community. It has its own set of parameters. There are some, we're designers. There are some things, most science labs are 1,200 square feet, prep rooms. I know that we've talked a little bit about, are we going to have lab and lecture separate? Will it be a combined? What kind of flexibility do we have? Those are things we need to look at. You will make those decisions. What I'm going to do is bring ideas to you. Gordon mentioned us as a tool. The more creative we are, the better your product will be. You push us. If I had a client, and I assume if I did more casino work, if I had a client that said money's no object, we just want it better than the last one done our competitors did, that's not the case. And I don't think I have to get too creative. Where I get creative is when you have a limited budget and we've got to get things to fit in it, and it's got to look like we've done the best we can, the most bang for our buck. So I hope that's part of what you needed.
Tours. Are we going to tour, if we take a group of tours, do we only tour your facilities? Or if we saw a new idea that's really working well and has been written up in KSB, or would we tour them? How do we handle tours with your group?
Tours, we love to go on tours. One, we're always learning. We're lifelong learners also, just like your students are here. What I like to do is I like to go. We'll get in the vans with the school vans and go. I'd like to identify things you guys put out in your listserv, what's been done at other school districts. Let's go get lessons learned. While you guys are looking, I'm going to be asking the same questions. What would you do differently if you had to do it over again? What worked? What didn't work? Let's look at those things. We're not reinventing the wheel here, so it's important that we do it. Would love to go see facilities with you.
To answer your question, we would also go to some of our facilities, and if you have ones that you've seen that you've heard great things about, we're going to go there too. It doesn't just need to be an HTK building.
Yep, exactly.
We've done a lot of surveys. We've done community surveys with 3 times over the last 10 years. What items do you see, and I don't know if you've had a chance to really look at the surveys from Elaine Tanner and that group, ETC. What surveys do you see that we really need to do before we move much farther? Or have you had a chance to?
I have not. The typical surveys I've seen, like Elaine Tatham is one that we work with. Kendi Sagard is another one. Patron Insight we see a lot. They usually start with surveys on how you are perceived. They're building with a goal in mind. What's the community think? Are you taking care of the investment that they've given you so far? How are you graded? They're building this as a successful bond issue, and then from there, they're going to see what people will support. There are some things that are sometimes difficult to get in a bond issue. Most people are going to vote for educational space first, athletics sometimes second. An auditorium might be one of those deals that, we need to test the water and see what's going to come back on that.
Okay, perfect. Owner's rep, do you mind if we have an owner's rep to oversee you and the contractor and the construction process?
I think that's great. We worked with an owner's rep last at Leavenworth School District. We are currently working with one at Rockport. We've worked with most of the CMs in the area. Actually, I'm going to tell you, they make my life easier. They many times do a lot of the education process that I have as an architect. I know you've worked with architects, a lot of boards don't. They're doing something every 20 years. Part of that is, how do you get what you want out of your architect? How do you push them? What will they do? What's in their standard services? What can you expect? An owner's rep is going to help us if they're another design professional.
Okay.
Would love to do it.
Contractors, is there a particular contractor, local, regional, Dunn, Turner? Is there one particular you work with? Or are you open to all of them? Is there ones that you don't like because they might push you too hard?
They're all different, and they all come down to the people. Same with architectural firms. You want somebody that's going to work with you. I think we want to look at that. We want to make, when we get ready to select that, we need to make some calls. We need to see how they've performed at other school districts. Contractors, if you're going to do a CM, we need to look at schedule. Do they deliver? Cost. How good are they on their pre-construction services? Constructability issues is another thing. We've worked with all of them. The big boys sometimes can get heavy-handed. We see a lot of good mid-sized firms. We see a lot of smaller firms too. There's some niche ones out there. It just depends. And each one's a different fit for each school district too, on how the degree of sophistication they might come in with. But
Final question I have, and this is one I don't want you to have to answer, but hypothetically, if the bond issue fails, are we locked in with your firm for 10 years and every other bond issue after that?
No, we will end up negotiating a contract. A lot of times, most school districts, when we do this, may, similar to a real estate agent, say we would like to go 2 bond issues with you, and then if you haven't been able to pass our bond issue, we may want to reserve the right to go elsewhere and see if somebody else can do a better job for us, that kind of deal. So we can set that up very easily for you. Our job is to tailor-make our services to what fits the Ottawa School District.
And one follow-up, Mr. President, if you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
Do you have, with your success, I hate to ask a direct question, but I will anyway.
Ask it.
Success rates on your last 10 bond issues, what's your percentage? Are you batting 200? Are you batting 1,000? And do you prefer mail ballots or a regular walk-up and vote ballot?
Okay. We have a pretty high rate. I can think of one that failed. And Tonganoxie failed. We passed it the second time around out of the last 5 years. So a pretty high rate on that. As far as, each district is different in how those are sold and presented to the public. But we're not 100% on that, or 1,000%, however you want to look at it. But we work very hard for you, and we have a lot invested in these. They're important for us to pass, but your community also knows that. We have something to gain. I need your support. I need you guys to help sell this. We need to help you get organized and help you find the ways to do this. And we've got some pretty good tricks on how to do that. So.
He never knows when I'm behind him or not.
I know
It
that.
makes him nervous.
She likes to kick me too. Go ahead. I know I missed part of that question in there.
Well,
so.
no, to help answer that, when you were talking about, special election, mail-in ballot, that kind of thing, I would love to visit with you on that, about that, because everyone is different. If I had to say there's one I prefer, it would probably be a mail-in ballot. It helps your voter turnout. It's easy for people who are, working late hours or kids are sick, can't get out of the house, that kind of thing. But there's some strategy behind that, and we've been able to learn a lot throughout our bond issues. And so we would love to share that with you.
We've seen the mail-in probably have a higher success rate. Most of your supporters have school-aged children, and they're busy. They may have 2 incomes, they've got sports, they've had all kinds of things. I've given a civic lesson at most of the school districts I've worked with. Royal Valley School District had a tie vote. In Kansas, the tie goes to the no. Some of the board members didn't vote that night. It was snowing that night. We turned around, we re-voted, they passed it, but the board members admitted, I didn't take the time to stop. I just went on home that night after work. So, your vote does count. Your vote does count. There's all kinds of things. You got civic classes here. You've got students that are away at college, so you got absentee votes. There's a whole lesson to be learned here on civics, and it does count. So thank you for that. Great questions. Exactly.
Board
Great
members,
questions.
other questions? I'm so happy to hear that you're too deep at every position. It'd be great if the Kansas City Chiefs were in the same situation.
I know that.
Unfortunately, that's not the case. No. We greatly appreciate your presentation tonight. We'll be meeting in 2 weeks discussing our choice of firms, and you'll be hearing from us. Okay. But thank you again for coming this evening.
Should you have any additional follow-up questions, please let me know. We'd love to answer them. I know we may not have got everything answered tonight. So thank you very much. We really appreciate the opportunity, and we're excited to get an opportunity to work with you. I hope we're the selected firm, so thank you.
Mark, I just have one quick question, and
Yes,
that
Dr.
is, do
Stroh.
we have your PowerPoint? We're going to put this on the local TV channel, and so if we have a copy of it.
It's yours.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Don't have to tell him, yeah, you don't have to tell him twice.
That was
Safely
pretty
tucked
quick.
away.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you.
Stroh. Yeah, appreciate it. So you guys have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have just a few more items for this evening on our agenda. Board reports. Is there a member of the board that has a report that they'd like to share? Activities they've participated in. Site councils will be starting up. I hope you've found which one's yours and will be attending. We do have an item of business to approve the OHS Substance Abuse Policy Student Handbook. And is there a presentation?
No, this is the second reading, so it's an action item.
Okay.
Unless you have questions for Dr. Cobbs.
Other questions? Everybody got to look at it?
Mr. President, I'd go ahead and vote or move to approve the revised drug and substance abuse policy.
Second?
Second.
All right.
But
Good.
I've got a question, though. I thought we were taking the out-of-school part out. Did I misunderstand it?
It's during the season present of participation versus the entire year.
Yeah.
The issue was trying to follow them for 365 days versus this season of participation. We work with OPD and everybody else involved to ensure that we get the information that we need during that.
Okay, all right.
Being able to deal with 50 students during a 9-week period versus 700 students during a 365-day period lends itself to a little easier, more manageable situation.
Okay, all right. I was confused.
Other questions? If not, we have a motion to approve the revisions to the substance abuse policy. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. And we will not need executive sessions tonight. We do have a personnel list that you've all seen. I would entertain a motion to accept that.
So moved?
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the personnel report. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign.
With regret, Melissa.
Yes. And do you have announcements?
I just have two. Yesterday, Mrs. Wormington and I were in Topeka to help Kristen McGrath celebrate Kansas Teacher of the Year. She was representing USD 290, and it was great. It was great fun to be there with such wonderful people, and she's a fantastic teacher, and so congratulations to Kristen. And then on Thursday, this coming Thursday, is the OHS Wall of Honor banquet starting at 6:30, so if you have that. If you need a ticket, we need to know, Melissa needs to know if you need a ticket, so.
Anything else from other board members? If not, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved?
Moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, raise your right hand. We're done.